Okay, cool. I think we're rolling. Thank you, Justine, for being here. Hello and welcome to everybody who is going to be listening to this. I don't think I hear you. Oh, no, I do hear you.
For me, yeah.
Yes, great. Okay, I lost you there for a second. So, welcome everybody who's going to be listening to this later. Welcome to another episode of our little podcast here in the Toon Room. My guest today is the lovely and very generous, always generous Justine Bannister, who I know you, or my first introduction to you was kind of like a matchmaker, the matchmaker of the animation industry, as it were. And you were always very, very generous also with me in terms of giving me suggestions of how I should think about certain conversations and who should I try and talk to and things like that. And I'll be forever grateful for that. As you already know, we talked about this a little bit before in our prep conversation. Here in the Tuna Room, we are interested, but we're not focusing too much on the dread of the current situation and all the terrible things that may or may not happen. We're really first and foremost interested in the people. We're about the people. So all the conversations that we have, of course, it's inevitable. We touch upon all the things going on around us, but I'm interested in your story and your outlook on things in your background, things you love to do, what gets you up in the morning, things like that. So, and with everybody we talk, it's always very interesting that almost nobody really set out to do what they ended up doing, and everybody has such a fascinating and interesting story. So maybe if you will, we can start there. What were you thinking in terms of career when you were younger? Did you ever think you'll end up doing what you're doing now?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I've been listening to your sessions with Rita and Josh and Ken, and I have to listen to
Hmm.
all the others as well because you've got some incredible rock stars. And the one common denominator is there is no common denominator, right? Everybody's got
Right.
different backgrounds. And even having known those guys for like decades, I mean, Rita almost 30 years, there's so much I didn't know about Rita, about her past and everything. I think we're so into talking about animation and about the now and what's going on in our lives that we don't often go into that. And this is a really alien concept for me because I'm the one usually doing all the questions, all the asking. Uh,
Right. Yes.
what are you looking for? Where are we going? And doing the listening and finding out how we can connect people and put deals together. So it's going to be an interesting. You might have to poke me a bit, Alex, and ask me questions
No
because
worries.
it doesn't come naturally. But I
Yeah.
wanted to say, first of all, congratulations to you because this is an amazing initiative.
Oh,
And what
oh,
you've
thank you so very much.
but it's so lovely to have a safe space for everybody
Yeah.
where there are zero barriers for entry because there are so many barriers to entry in our business, right? If you go the traditional
Yeah.
route. I mean, even getting into parties in Annecy, and we could be difficult. So it's just to have something
Yes.
that people can share and be themselves and put up, you can find, and people can discover new talent and
Yeah.
artists. And it's like, feels like a safe space and a bit of a group hug
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah. And it's really kind of timely.
Yeah.
I know we don't want to talk about doom and gloom, but it feels like
Yeah.
it's a necessary thing. And to have that always on, offline, I think we've gotten used to
Yeah.
being able to do quite a few things offline since, especially since COVID, that's actually helped quite a lot. And to have that between markets, and especially as people are having to pick their battles about going to markets, which to
Where
choose,
do you go?
what
Yes.
can you
Yeah.
afford to do, what's going to be worthwhile, etc.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have a
Yeah.
space like this that's not necessarily in person where you can meet people or work on projects. There should be wonderful things that
Yeah.
come out of this.
Yeah.
Was that your inspiration?
Yes. I mean, one of my elevator pitches for this, and I think I even say it in the intro video on the like little about page, is that it's like I wanted to create that Annecy sort of that market festival sort of vibe
Yeah.
here online, right? So it's like Annecy, but in your pocket. All these all the people that you know and you're looking forward to meeting at these sorts of events and seeing them again, making new friends, bumping into interesting people, discovering new projects. So, yeah, all of the above. But on the other hand, for me, it was also a thing of getting rid of the noise a little bit. So having a space that is dedicated to this. It's just this. It's just animation people and animation adjacent, right? There's nothing else, and there's nothing that some algorithm needs to filter for you or try to guess what to put in your feed every day because there's, hundreds of thousands and millions or whatever of posts. And kind of having a clean, smaller space that is distilled and really on point. So yeah, thank you for the kind words.
Of course, it's very, very
So
much needed, and also very, I think, something where you can be authentic and not performative. Somewhere,
yeah,
a safe place.
yeah, yes, yeah. It's a place to people, not to sell necessarily. If that happens, if it can facilitate it, wonderful.
Bonus, yeah.
But it's definitely not for self promo or sales purposes. It's a place to people. And speaking of people, so
I was thinking of
uh,
your sessions are like you're like the good hang of animation, right? You're like the Amy Poehler of animation. I love the way you
yeah,
people talk.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So why
So
animation?
so so yeah. So tell me, why animation? What were you thinking? Like, I loved Josh's description when he said like he wanted to be Steve Martin, right? And like I didn't think of it in the moment, but afterwards I was thinking I wanted to be Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah.
And I did, yes, and it is all connected. So who did you want to be, Justine, when you were younger? What were you
One of
thinking?
those. I just love, 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 love animation. Yeah, I grew up in the UK in a very glamorous city,
Hmm.
Birmingham, that you might have come across.
Yeah,
Made quite famous recently by I think by the Peaky Blinders, but
yeah,
yeah, just outside of Birmingham. And we're very spoiled in the UK growing up in the 80s. I grew up with incredible animated shows, all different eclectic styles. You may know some Bagpuss, The Clangers, Rhubarb and Custard. There have been reiterations of them. There's going to be a new Bagpuss as well, done by Brummies actually. Um, and yeah, I think it's very fortunate to have so many incredible shows that we could watch and enjoy, and that actually might not have been conceived for kids by the I think
yeah.
filmmakers pleasing themselves. Really, I mean they're just
Yes.
hideously funny, very kooky, a little strange, and some quite naughty. But when you're a child, there's a lot of things, and the innuendo goes way over the top of your head. So
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, I think there was that. I had an absolute obsession with Looney Tunes and Taz,
Hmm.
so much
Oh
so
yeah.
that many years later I persuaded a friend to go to Tasmania with me to visit the sanctuary, the Tasmanian Devil Sanctuary, to see,
Nice.
to see the
Okay.
devils. Do you know Tasmanian devils and what they're like? They're the same.
Yeah, I do actually. I looked it up because I was a huge Taz fan as well as a kid,
Yeah,
and I was very curious. What is this? Is this? That's it's a real?
is it
No, it's
real?
not.
It's
It couldn't possibly be a real animal. And I looked it up. Yes.
Oh yeah, it's like a cross
Oh
between a hyena and a crazy Rottweiler who's lost its mind and it must have a brain about the size of a chickpea. I think it's yeah, very
yeah.
unpleasant creatures, but they're very sadly endangered. So yeah, so
Uh,
although I have to
yeah.
say Tasmania is a beautiful place, definitely worth visiting.
Yeah. Well, the places animation or the passion for animation takes you, right?
Yeah, and I really love Taz because it's such carnage, chaos, insanity. It's completely bonkers,
Yeah.
It's a really fun show. So
Yeah.
that was what I grew up with, and that kind of grew my love. But I did my study was European studies and Spanish. So I actually went to school at universities where most of my class ended up working for the European Commission, the Council of Europe, or the
Right.
UN. So I didn't exactly
Yes,
know where.
I'm, I'm quite familiar in terms of what that sort of career
Yeah, I wonder if
can look
those
like. Yeah.
exist in the UK post Brexit. But yeah, my third year in Spain, and I've been living in France since. Well, actually, I don't really count, but I've been living in France. I arrived the same week as the launch of Euro Disney, or Disneyland Paris, as it's called now. So that's how I keep track.
Mm-hmm.
When it's their anniversary, it's my
It's
anniversary.
their anniversary, then you can. Okay.
Yeah. So it was
So
pure.
why France?
Why France? Well, there aren't 50 reasons to leave Birmingham, are there? So
Mm,
I met my boyfriend, my French boyfriend, in a cable car in Switzerland when I was on holiday with my family and a squash club. And so we started seeing each other. It took me 5 years to get there because I was 17, so I was doing my A levels
mm-hmm.
to pass my exams, leave home, go to university, go to Spain, do a postgrad degree so I could learn French because I didn't learn French. So the plan was to always live in Paris with him, and I
Uh-huh.
stayed. And we're no longer together, but I stayed. So and I know a lot of people from all over the world who live in Paris, and there aren't. It's usually work or because they love Paris or because they've seen Emily in Paris, but generally it's
Yeah.
not a million reasons to come and go and live somewhere else, right? So it would have been here. I would never say never. Could be Spain one day or elsewhere. I did have a short spate in Argentina. I was working for Disney
Mm.
for a few months, but generally Paris. It's been for a while. So yes, I've been here longer than I've actually been in the UK, and I'm French now as well. So
Oh, yeah. Yes. Uh, cool. But you don't have historically like French family. You're a French because you spent enough time there to ask for the citizenship. Yeah.
yeah. Well, actually, I asked for citizenship after Brexit, and I'm glad I did.
Mm.
Very useful
Yeah.
to have both.
Smart
Yeah.
move. What can I say?
Well, I don't know, smart, maybe necessary. It's useful.
Yeah. So you moved to France because of love,
Yes.
and you were planning to do what professionally back
What
then?
with all
Because
my
it,
incredible diplomas, so I had a
yes,
postgrad, I had an undergrad, postgrad degree, and the French didn't recognise any of my degrees, so I started
of
temping.
course. Yeah.
And my first temp job one of the first was at 20th Century Fox as receptionist.
Uh-huh.
I became friends with the guys in the TV department, and then they hired me to be sales assistant. And in like the first week or second week, I think it was, we watched the Simpsons. So I'm showing my age here. We
Hmm.
watched and we watched the pilot for X Files, and so they would do
Oh, nice.
like Simpsons. I mean, Simpsons didn't look at all like it looks today, but I mean,
Yeah.
wow, that was it. I was sold on animation, and they would do output deals and sell packages of Dynasty and The Fall Guy and all these credible movies they had, and it was not a whole lot of fun, I thought, and I had an opportunity through a friend who actually worked at Fox to go and work in an animation studio. So that's what I did. I
Mm.
was an animation coordinator at a company called Pixie Box that doesn't exist anymore. And then I wanted to become a journalist. And I started working for Reader's Digest. Do you remember Reader's Digest?
Yes, I
Yes,
do. Yeah.
type of
Yeah.
magazines you find in doctors and dentists waiting rooms, and it doesn't really
Yeah.
exist anymore. And like translated into like every language known to man. And yeah, I did fact checking and translations at the European Editorial Office, which was in Paris, and that
Hmm.
was an incredible job. And you can imagine fact checking these days. This does not exist, does it? Check
Yeah.
every fact two or three times. So, and it was also during the war in ex-Yugoslavia,
Yeah.
and you covered a lot of like human stories and politics,
Yeah.
and an amazing story from the Second World War. I don't know if you heard of it. It's an RAF pilot who was shot down in a village in Normandy, and his parachute caught on the church spire, and he was rescued by the resistance. He fell in love with one of the resistance leaders' daughters. They got married. The wedding dress was made out of the parachute. They invited the Gestapo to the wedding. It's an incredible story. And the wedding dress is actually on display in the Caen Museum in Normandy, in the memorial. It's called the Memorial.
Oh,
And I got to speak to them both because they were still alive. Yeah, that was a lovely job. We did
wow.
of incredible things. So it was real proper journalism. And then Reader's Digest decided to move their office to Brussels, and I wanted to stay in Paris because I wanted to be with my boyfriend, and I wanted to stay.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to go and work in another studio on a production on a completion bond, and do the production coordination for an animation show.
Hmm.
So that's how I really started getting seriously into animation. And then the same friend from Fox called me and said, are you interested in distribution? And she was flying all around the world and selling cartoons over. And I thought, oh, this sounds cool and glamorous. So I got a job at Europe Image, which is part of the Lagardère group. I don't know if you
Okay.
know Elle Magazine, Paris Match, your like radio stations, and was
Uh-huh. Okay.
Europe Image was eventually became it changed names like 50 times. Eventually sold to Media
Right.
One, so it's part of that group now. And I was selling the Jacques Cousteau catalog, which was wonderful, and
Hmm.
all sorts of, and also looking for animation for the catalog. So that was part of my
Yeah.
job. And that was a lovely time as well, because the French really take care of all the of export, all things cultural. They have all the visual
Hmm.
attaches in every country, maybe less so these days, but and we did amazing trips. We do a showcase in Seoul and Tokyo, and then a trip around Latin
Nice.
America. Yeah, and we were very well taken.
Yeah.
That was a really great way to do it. And I just got more and more and more involved with animation, so distribution, and then finding
Did that
sourcing.
just happen naturally, or this is your affinity towards it, and you were kind of looking for these opportunities
No, it kind of,
to find more animated projects, or did they find you?
because they worked. The animation in the catalog worked, and then to
Mm.
have the possibility to go and work with a comic book company after that. So it was also
Uh-huh.
those days when for finding jobs, I think it was a little bit more through relationships. It was a bit easier. There were more jobs, and especially in sales. And I was that was another opportunity to work on a with Dupree, which you might know, is a comic book Franco-Belgian comic company, BD, Les BD,
Hmm.
comics.
I've heard of it, I think. Yes.
You've heard of it. You heard the Smurfs, and the Asterix, and not that company, but
Yeah.
the all of the incredible BD that come out of France and Belgium. And Dupuis was setting up a distribution. They wanted someone to run the distribution, or set it up and run it, and look for comics within the catalogue to make adaptations, either for animation or live action. And so the office was actually in the studio. There's a studio in Paris, and so that, yes, that's what I did. Set up the distribution department. Went rifling through the catalogue, finding titles that would appeal internationally, and working on them together with all the departments to work on like developing them to put them into animation series.
Oh man,
Sometimes,
that's so cool. That's like a dream job, especially if you're a fan of those particular
oh, I mean,
properties, right?
I
And
discovered
trying to
friends
fig
Friends I never
yeah,
knew I had. People would call me up and say, "Have you got number 32 of Spiro magazine, or this comic?" Or it was
yeah,
kind of crazy. There was a lot of, yeah. It's a big deal
yeah.
in France. And then Dupree was bought by Dargo Media Toon became Media Participation. Don't know if you know that group.
Okay.
And we moved over there. A lot of the crew moved back to Belgium, and very different company culture. And I got another offer for a different kind of job in London, TV Loonland, which also does no longer exist. And that was with Olivier Dumont, who was MD. And we went over there to work on distribution and increase the catalogue and work on co-productions
Hmm.
together. So we were selling the Hasbro catalogue, so we had all the animation titles, G.I. Joe,
Yeah.
Transformers, My Little Pony, and titles like scholastic titles like Clifford the Big Red Dog. And our first show, and I basically stalked the producer, was Little Princess for us to get for
Hmm.
distribution, co-produced. So that was also more and more involved in sourcing titles, looking for projects for the catalogue, but still in distribution. And then the company ran aground, basically overspend. It
Yeah.
was, there were several reasons, and I got very lucky, and I was hired by Disney to do acquisitions and co-productions as a maternity cover, and that was that was a fantastic experience because the offices were they're back in Paris now, but they were in the park in Disneyland. So we're actually off. So we
Uh-huh.
were out there, yeah, there and back, screaming children on the way. We go because they're super excited and screaming children on the way back because they'd had too much sugar. But and also some
Yeah.
get to go on before they open the gates. We could get to go on rides occasionally in the morning before work. So that was really important.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a lovely experience, Disney. It was a lot of fun. Although I'm not a corporate beast, so it wasn't going to last. And then they asked me if I wanted to go because I spoke Spanish to go and work in Argentina on a show called Art Attack. So that was all
Okay.
panels from all over the world had to do the soundstage shoot in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and then put it all together. So we did casting. Well, I did casting, production, post production on that show for Disney. So I was in Argentina for about 4 or 5 months. They shot it all in NTSC. Do you remember NTSC and PAL?
Yes.
So we had to
Yes.
transform it all into PAL. So it was a bit of a hiccup. And yeah, and
Yeah.
they asked me to do the second season, and I said, no, that will kill me. It was like 18, 20 hour days. It was insanity.
Oh,
So
yikes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, it was
Yes, I remember, and I remember NTC and PAL very, very well.
yeah, and yeah,
Um,
those are the days. So that
yeah.
was yeah. So that was my Disney experience. So I did quite a lot actually in a very short space of time.
Yeah.
It was a
And
wonderful.
also quite an intense like because I understand correctly this was a live action show, right?
It was
Uh
hybrid. Yeah, there was animated
Hybrid.
pieces. What they had was well that was shot from a crane as the big art, which was the incredible part of Art Attack, which was pre-recorded, and it was all pieced together. So
Yeah.
we'd shoot on a sound stage. They'd put stuff. It was like making things out of toilet rolls and all sorts of stuff. It was like it's a craft,
Right.
right? Art Attack. Uh, so
Right.
you have to piece it all together, and there was an animated piece as well that was put together. So it was a hybrid show. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun.
So yeah. Yeah, but what I wanted to say is that it's a very versatile experience in that, especially when you work on these, speaking from experience, these live action shoots, if you're under deadline, like you said, very, very long days. It's a different kind of pressure. Like animation is complicated, and people who are in animation have never done live action may
Well, somehow.
may be of the opinion that oh, animation is the hardest thing ever because it takes so long and it's such a labor of love and so many people involved and so on, which is all true. But
It is.
when you're shooting, thank you, Paul. But when you're shooting something, it's a different kind of tough.
It's
So
intense. I mean,
it's cool to have that experience as well, right? And kind of
oh,
see.
fabulous! Yeah, and also to see the way the crew worked in Argentina because on a shoestring they were extremely versatile,
Oh
extremely
yeah,
creative, and you would not imagine
yeah,
what would be using. They should have been using VFX, and in fact they were using pieces of tinfoil and all. Very, very,
yeah,
very resourceful, and I think you have to
yeah.
be when you're working on a very tight budget. But yeah, it was
You have to,
very
yes, yeah,
impressive. Yeah, so that
yeah.
was.
I used the wool sweater once as a dolly because I didn't have a dolly, didn't have a budget for a dolly, and we were shooting on a in a bowling alley. And also, you can't like the bowling alley, the wooden floor of the actual thing. It's waxed, it's very sensitive, and so on. So even if we did, it would have been a very complicated to set it up. So I got a very thick woolen sweater, and we put the camera on the woolen sweater, and it slid on the floor of the lane perfectly. We
Yes,
didn't even have to stabilize it or anything, and it was amazing.
look at you. Yeah, that
So
takes.
you have to be clever, when you're working on a budget. So it
Absolutely.
exercises. I keep saying all the time, like every creative, every director, like have this belief they should do animation at least once in their life. It doesn't matter if you're a live action person, a documentary person, you just do a short once and get a feel. That's an exercise because it's the only kind of filmmaking, let's say, if we're talking about filmmaking, medium where you have to come up with everything, where it's a completely blank slate. You're not relying on, I don't know, locations or things that are kind of in the zeitgeist or whatever. So you can do anything, right? But at the same time, the live action experience, I think, also has a lot of value in that it exercises different muscles.
Of course.
Whereas in animation, you're like, okay, I have. It's not that you have the time, but you are the master of everything. You can come up with how everything needs to look,
It's not.
design everything, figure it out, and so on, and then also obviously try and make it, and then the production limitations come into play.
It depends who you're working
Um,
with, doesn't it?
yeah, and it depends who you're working with, of course. But in live action, I think you have to make decisions a little bit quicker. When you're there on the day and everybody's out, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
like, I don't know, whatever it is, what's a cliche? Oh, we're losing the light. We're losing the light and we got to get this done. And you have to make decisions on the fly. Just exercise is a different muscle. And I think they can be really complementary
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
skill sets.
it's a pretty different craft, different skill set. Yes, and as Paul knows, it
Hmm.
can take a while to put a shot together.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so Argentina, after Argentina,
That came back.
no, it
Yeah, that's
was
it.
Argentina before
That's it.
Disney or Disney?
It was all Disney. So, and I came back. Disney wanted me to work on the second
Ah,
season.
right,
He said, "I can't do that. I'm just going
right,
to
right,
die
right. Yeah,
doing that." And I
yeah.
started working with um, a distribution company called PGS Entertainment, looking
Yes.
for sourcing IPs or sourcing properties for them to turn into brands, or looking for big brands and working on their marketing for them because they're excellent salesmen. So that was about a year, and then I set up my own thing called Just Be, and that was in 2013. So
Yeah.
I've been doing on my Just Be is just me, by the way. So it's
Yeah.
I had a big network of contacts. I knew people from production, from distribution, and a lot of
Distribution.
broadcasters, investors. So it was quite a network. And the thing that came naturally was the connecting people, was the looking at
Yeah.
a
Mm-hmm.
project and saying you should speak to so and so. Is
Yes.
I met this incredible man in at a MIP Junior last October, who is I don't want to give too much away, but he's from academia. He
Mm-hmm.
worked in cancer
Mm-hmm.
research. He had a fever dream about a show that he created in his head. He paid his own way to come to Cannes, was looking for partners, had no idea about any of this business. I mean, courageous, right? And had spoken to people, had rung up Pixar directly to say, "Can I speak to? I need to find a writer," and had found people to put together his deck and his pitch and his
Yeah.
clip. And he just told me the title of the show, and I just thought Rita. And then he started telling me about it, Rita, and just Rita, and it just all I could hear was, "I've got to show this to Rita because it's right up her alley." So that kind of
Yeah.
reflex within seconds of looking at something or knowing, well, that comes from 30 years experience. It's
Of
it's not
course. Yeah.
it's an automatic thing to me, but it probably looks too easy to other people. But it's fine. It's spotting affinities between people, because you know what it's like with animation. You have to get on. You're going to be working together for quite some time.
Yeah. For a
So
while.
it's yeah. So it's and I see the projects that can come from publishing. That could be an app. That could be a game. People looking to get into the animation industry for some reason and want to create a feature or a trilogy or create a brand, and they don't know anybody. So either I work under the radar for them because they don't need the hand holding, or I take them to market or work with cohorts, from export agencies or producer associations from all over the world, and prepare them for the bewildering experiences such as Annecy or MIPCOM, etc. And get them ready and
Yeah.
help them make the most of it, the experience, and meet the right people for their projects. Depending what they need in terms of, it could be talent, could be a studio, could be producer, investor, whatever's required that they don't necessarily know about. So that's why that came about, and came quite
Mm-hmm.
naturally. Although, I mean, to my detriment, it took me a while. I haven't really been able to put a value on that. It's not very easy when you're matchmaking. So if I get involved with the 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 DNA of the producer, of the people and their project, and help them, support them, put together strategies with them, and get involved with the deal making. And that's more of a full on experience. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, that's what I do. And then on the other side, I do a lot of project evaluation for banks. For actually, do end up working for the European Commission. I should have said in the
Oh
end.
yeah.
Well, as an evaluator,
Okay.
so I've been doing that for like 20 years, pretty much, yeah. Or putting together people's producers' applications for them. That's which is as you
For European funds, you mean, and things like
yeah,
that?
Creative Europe, yeah, yeah,
For
for direct
Creative Europe.
funding,
Okay.
funding, slate funding,
Yeah.
yeah, those kind of applications. So we but work on both sides of yeah. So that's I mean
Yeah.
it's interesting working as an evaluator. It's like a spying exercise. I get to see people's budgets, their strategies, their
Yeah.
marketing strategy, their sales. It's really useful, and it's quite eye opening. I think it's very helpful for, and also it's grant, it's proper money, so it's well worth doing. If you can apply for
Of
funding, if
course.
you're
Yeah.
eligible. So it's just you have to jump through a lot of hoops. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, so do
Yeah.
quite a bit of that, and putting together sessions. Listening to producers and creatives, trying to find out what they need. What they need to hear in sessions, or
Yeah.
if they are making the trip to Annecy or Mitcom or Kidscreen or wherever, and putting together sessions that mean something to them. Instead of
Yeah.
I think there's more. We were moving more and more towards that, and things sessions become more and more concrete. There are less and less talking
Hmm.
heads or a bunch of executives talking about how great they are and what they've done and what they've achieved, and
Yeah.
it's
I
not
was.
necessarily relatable.
Yeah. Yeah. I was on one of the. I don't know if you just had the one or maybe more than one. On a session you put together and moderated at Annecy last year.
The brand building.
Um, I think so. Yes.
So it was with Bannister,
And
Viola, and
yes, 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 that one. So I was there in the room, and I remember you had mentioned a few times throughout the session something along the lines. I'm not quoting you or anything, but something along the lines like concrete takeaways, guys. Come on, specific things. Like concrete takeaways. Okay, so these people walking out of this room, what should they take with them? What
oh,
should they, if there's one thing from each of you that they will take with them, what would that thing be? And I really like that because a
I
lot of
think
these conversations are very kind of like, ooh,
that,
let's talk. Yes,
I mean, it's easy for them.
um,
They've also got to put, as a speaker, you've got to put yourself in the audience's shoes, right?
yeah,
It's easy for you. I mean, if you've been, as a manager or a Crayola, you've been brand building for a long time. So for people starting out, it's really useful to have your helpful top tips and what would be useful to know. But I mean, I don't think I did it for that session, but for every single session I do, I put together takeaways. So it's a list of useful resources, podcasts, anything
yeah,
that could be helpful, and especially with the sessions on AI. I mean, a glossary of terms, different tools that people can use, tools that have actually been used now in animation process and pipeline. All sorts of useful resources and lists, co-productions like tax credits, different tax credits around the world, different territories to look into and investigate,
yeah,
that kind of thing. Stuff that's just really, really useful because people need that. Producers and creatives
yeah,
really need that. I think.
of
Well, that's what I'm
course.
hearing. So it's good to be as helpful as possible, and also work a lot with underrepresented talent. With the Durban Film Festival, Durban Film Market, on mentorships, African storytelling and African storytellers in the diaspora. So
Cool.
there's a lot of really incredible storytelling that's been handed down from generation to generation without ever being written down or has been song
Uh-huh.
it's been sung.
Yes.
Same in Latin America, incredible storytelling, and not necessarily an easy way. And I mean, there's not a lot of funding available in Africa, for example.
Yeah.
They're not really assisted by the broadcasters. There are little
Uh-huh.
pots of money. Well, there are pots of money everywhere, aren't there, Alex? There's ways of finding, and also looking into NGOs and different ways of working
Yeah.
with. If you've got certain type of this, and the Institut Français. very helpful in lots of territories as well. So I've put together a
Yeah,
funding document as well, because we really have to look at different ways to fund projects and finance them.
yeah, yeah. I know. I come from a place where I don't know, as recent as I'd say 10 years ago, there was nothing. There was no avenue to finance film or access to any funds. I don't think we had a national film fund even at that point. So I financed an animated short film from NGOs and different international organizations that were sponsoring different things or financing different things that I thought, oh, this is kind of adjacent to the theme of my short film. I'm gonna go talk to them. So I
But
kind of
you see what it did to you and what it made you. It made you super entrepreneurial and go out there and find it. And
scraped it together. So
yeah.
yeah, it takes time. It took time. Paul earlier before we started recording, he said that the current short film he's working on so far has taken 4 years, and he still has a few months to go. It took me for this particular project 10 years ago. It took me 4 years to put all the money together. It wasn't like a huge amount of money to begin with, but it was some money that I needed to be able to, pause commercial work for X amount of time so we can focus on making the film. So it takes time, but it's certainly doable. Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories on there about people not giving up their day jobs and working around the clock and weekends to create
yeah,
their activities and finally making a success of them. There seems to be the those opposite ends of the scale. I was in LA at the animation summit, and
hmm
the, to hear the how can I say this, adult animation and feature animation through the majors. It's very, once again, barriers to entry. It's very difficult to get a look in as a writer, as a director, as a
yes,
filmmaker with a project or a producer. It's a very closed shop. So
yeah,
there's that end of the scale, and then there's the other end of the scale with the incredible entrepreneurs like Nico, who's created Claynosaurus, and Corey Williams with Silly Crocodile. Those guys,
yeah,
but they working so hard and creating so much content.
yes.
Um,
It's grit. You
so
gotta have that grit. You
it's,
have to have that grit and just go and go and keep going on and keep going on and keep going, and then something will come out of it.
and yet,
And not everybody's built that way. I don't know how to explain this. This is not criticism by any means,
oh, it's
but because you have to keep going even when every sort of logical, rational, process of thought in your head is telling you that it's done. Like you've reached the point of diminishing returns, my friend. You should retire this, right?
no
Um,
incredible resilience. Hello,
Yeah,
Paul.
just,
yeah.
sorry, just because I love this conversation. And
Wait,
now
we don't
I
hear
think,
you. Hold on. Justine, do you hear Paul?
Yeah,
I
I can
don't.
hear him. I can hear him fine.
Oh, yes, maybe it's just me. Then you can maybe repeat the what you said.
so I'm so engaged in this. This
Go
is
ahead.
an interesting conversation. I also think now there's a lot of pressure because things are made so fast with AI that you can't explain to someone that you'll need years to do one thing. And I don't think there's time now to really stop and ruminate and let the project mature because you need to quickly puke it out because the next one needs to show up and then the next one. And I think this is just an extra challenge that I see many animators are struggling with.
What
Just
type of
finish it really
content
fast.
are you thinking?
Hmm?
Oh, you're thinking about short form content, Paul,
Not
because
for different content, yes, they just need to finish it fast and then do the next one and then the next one because of the funding. And I see a lot of projects that are just made so fast they don't have time to kind of mature and to become
Okay,
something of their
Justine, you're
own.
gonna have to fill us in here.
Mhm.
well, I'm thinking more of long form series, which is they've got to be made. This is not the case, obviously, Paul. You're not referring to that because these are like co-production structures, and but obviously budgets have got to come down dramatically, and AI is being used in pipelines to streamline and make things faster because it has to go faster and it has to be
Mhm.
cost effective. but that's taken away anything from creativity. You seem to be referring to more short form or short films that are being produced. Is that right?
I think so. I somehow feel, well, short film is my experience, but I feel that a lot of projects need a bit of time to kind of to mature somehow, not to
Germinate, yeah, of course.
Okay.
yeah somehow.
It,
It's
it
something I'm still working on. It's a theory I'm still working
depends.
on.
If you're a solo creator, then there's nothing to stop you doing exactly what you want, how you want it, right?
Mhm.
But if you're working within a co-production structure, that's a totally different ball game
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you have other considerations. There's co-development, there are investors, there are partners. It's a very different,
yeah.
consideration. I mean, I think we're talking about the extremes, the elite, and then the creators who like work around the clock and are extremely resilient. But there, in between all of that, there is a traditional route that still exists, although the pipeline has gotten tighter, and there are opportunities for co-productions. There are projects out there, and there are some incredible projects out there. But they're not getting financed because if they're too expensive, they're just not getting financed. And of course, things are really tough in terms of distribution. Like minimum guarantees have gone down or almost non-existent. Broadcasters aren't paying as much, so it's the way of the world these days. It's budgets are tighter, things have got to be made faster. For service, I mean, studios have to jump through a lot of hoops do a lot more for even less. It's kind of
Yeah.
tight. For producing, I think it's great that if you can get you get projects and content and make stuff and get it out there. I think it's fabulous. And whether it's made fast, are you saying if it doesn't look great if it's made too fast, or if it's not properly
I feel that
out?
I feel that there's something being lost in getting projects done very fast. Whether they're this is just my theory. Um, I think if you allow them to kind of mature, allow them to take a bit of time and not just hurry it up to get a new episode and a new short and a new film, a new feature film. For me, and it might just be me, but they seem to kind of look the same. They tend to rather go with a quick recipe rather than really see the vision of the director, for example, and to let that vision kind of sink into the film. But I might need a bit more proof to to be able to.
Okay, so I still can't hear Paul on my end. Given
Oh, really? Oh
the
my
five,
God!
five
Look
second,
at
the 5 second synthesis of his reply just now.
Paul is
It's really interesting what I'm saying.
Hopefully,
So
Alex, you'll
I'm
hear it
just
recording.
I'm just wondering if this is just a glitch just now, or is it also in the recording?
I can hear you, Paul.
Oh my God, I
Oh,
feel so
okay.
heard. I feel so heard and seen.
Okay, so if Michael can hear Paul, hopefully I'll check the recording later. So, but anyway,
Hello, Michael. Hello to you. We
Hey,
haven't
Michael.
spoken yet. It's like we haven't met.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm really enjoying this. Thank you.
Okay. Where are you based, Michael?
Portugal.
Okay, great. You don't have a very Portuguese name.
No, I'm originally from the States.
Okay. Okay.
Been here for about
all
5
right.
years now.
Okay. I think Alex, did you seriously miss all of everything Paul was saying?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I think
I just did. I could see him. I could see him in the camera, and it was very compelling and passionate looking in terms of what he was talking about, and it just didn't feel right to interrupt the man. Let him
bless
finish
you.
his thoughts. So I was trying to look for visual cues, like when it would be like logical that he's said his piece, so I can jump in and say like,
Yeah.
oh, by the way, I can't hear you.
Could you please tell
So
Alex?
I'm sorry if I interrupted. If I interrupted an otherwise interesting
You'll
exchange.
be able to hear it on the recording now, Alex. So in catch up.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope so.
But it's about short films and
But yeah.
very
But
pure.
but because the reason I took the conversation there, because you'd mentioned Corey, for example, who's booked for the podcast as well, by the way. in a few weeks, so he'll be
Excellent.
coming here. He'll be coming here too.
Very good.
Really looking forward to that, and Nicholas with the Cranosaurs and so on. And you said, there's like working nights and weekends or whatever, to try and make something. And at the end of the day, I think that is the differentiator, because you're never going to have success overnight, and it takes a lot of time. It takes time to make the thing in the first place, or even if, for people who are thinking about, I don't know, building their own channels nowadays, whatever it is, social, YouTube, whatever it is, and if they can create the content and kind of go with this digital first approach and so on, it takes time to build this presence. It takes time to build an audience, and you have to, and you learn. It's a learning curve as well
Oh,
in terms
yeah.
of
But
kind
they
of what works, what doesn't work, what's your style, what do you, like it's all these different things that.
And also creating different types of content. I think that's what is incredible.
Absolutely, yeah.
Experimenting, becoming business savvy, experimenting more, building awareness, building like a following, like literally a following. I mean, they have and extraordinary resilience, like you're saying, like
Yes.
extraordinary.
Yes.
I mean, well, anyway, he'll tell you all about it. And I know Corey works with Ken as well. So, and Ken certainly knows how to spot a winner, right? So I think that's wonderful. And they're extremely, but there's just those guys, right? So it's not everybody that can do that. You're right. Not everybody's cut out to do that. So I think as well, I meet a lot of.
And just to be sorry again, not to interrupt again, but just to make it clear, and it's not that they're not talented, right? Not everybody can do that. It's not the lack of talent or lack of
Oh no,
a good idea. It's
no,
it's just, I don't
absolutely.
know, this
It
at
takes
some point,
all.
the stupidity of just marching on.
I call it resilience. I call it determination and just pure drive, belief in what they're doing,
Yes.
and also having the balls to do it. And not everybody
Yeah.
is made like that. And we have so many people in our business who have terrible anxiety issues, who are
Yeah.
introverted, who are neurodivergent. There's
Mm-hmm.
all of that, and it's difficult. And having spoken to and meeting a lot of students or graduates, that shyness and that reluctance to, but it's what you find in your pairs. You team together, build a team, a crew, make a short film together, make
Yeah.
something fun where you have a complementary skill set, and
Yes.
make stuff. Go ahead and make, if you can, if you've got a full-time job, just go ahead and make your shorts, because you're building your credentials and your credibility and your track record. You don't necessarily need a job at one of the big guys. It's really hard to get an animation
Mm-hmm.
show, right? And
Yeah.
just and also
And
in reaching out to the ones you really admire. I think what's wonderful in our business, and I know it's not just in this space, is that people are so generous with their time, and you can approach anybody. You've seen the big guns in Annecy, Guillermo del Toro goes
mm-hmm.
there, and Tim Burton. They're hanging out with the students. They're answering questions. They're exchanging. I think
Yeah.
that's them. And then you can go up to people quite easily. You've done it, Alex. I know you have. You just
Yeah.
speak to people, exchange, ask for people's advice. People are very generous. Who would you talk to if you don't? I
Yeah.
need to find I'm looking for an illustrator. I'm looking for an artist. I need a director. People are incredible, don't you think? It's a very
Yeah.
sharing. I mean, the Care Bear.
Yes, I love. Yeah, I love animation people. My start was live action, and I wanted to be a live action movie director. That was the pinnacle of success in my mind. If I get to direct live action features, that's it. That's the career that I wanted. Then when I got a bit older and I was already working in animation, I was like, no, I'll be Brad Bird. That's who I'll be. Somebody who can seemingly effortlessly pivot between live action and animation. But the more I got into animation and started hanging out with animation people, I fell in love. It's just a different. It's a different vibe to me, at least. People are way more open. It's such a great hang. This is another reason why I'm building the Toon Room, and I'm trying to grow it. And I was just joking with somebody on one of our recent hangouts. As we were talking about the industry and the state of things and so on, and I said I might start seriously considering a different primary business like rubber boots or shoes or something. But even if I stop working on animation, I'll come to Annecy every year anyway, if I can,
Yeah,
just for fun,
just to hang out.
just to hang out, you know, maybe sit in on a panel, just listen to people talk about things a little bit, but just hang out, bump into people, meet people. It's just such a wonderful vibe, and people are so, for the most part, 9 out of 10 people you would approach, and this is advice I give to everybody who, you know, asks me about these students, for example, ask me about these sorts of events, is like what you just said, you know, don't be afraid to come up to people. 9 out of 10 are going to be incredibly generous
Yeah.
and wonderful and generous with their time, and they'll give you some suggestions and some ideas. So
And you never know
yes,
where a
definitely.
really great conversation can happen and where a project can, you know, and you know, people have started projects on round table
Yeah,
sessions and they've been sitting next to each other, or there's a conversation going on at Captain's Pub and I've overheard it and brought somebody over to say, you guys have to work together,
totally.
you know, and it
Yeah,
just seems just the serendipitous moments all the time, right? So
yeah.
it's well worth it's
Yeah, I have a
over your fears.
yes, I have several stories like that where you meet people and you go, aha, you make a connection. I'm sure this is kind of what you do, and it's happened to you a million times. But I had the chance to do this a few times. Like, you guys, look, you're working, and you should, you know, it's a great feeling when you can
Isn't
bring
it?
people
Yeah. It's a way.
together like that. So a few years ago, I'm blanking on the name of the director, but there's a short film called Wojtek. It did really well in the
You mean Ian Gardner? Bear called Wojtek.
Ian. Yes, Ian. There you go. Yes, Ian.
The best laugh ever, Ian. Have you heard him laugh?
Yeah. Yes,
But,
I have.
but Paul and
So
the Scottish director, writer, creator is amazing.
yes, he's
Ian
great.
Gardner.
Somehow I was talking to him. He was telling me about the story and how he kind of his view on the bear, right? Um, how he found out about this creature and what his knowledge of the backstory is and so on, and how fascinating it was and how a big part of his childhood and so on, and kind of the zeitgeist of the times. And then I had met at a different event. This is happening in Annecy, but at a different event. I think it was like Gran Canaria or something. It might have been business, cartoon business or something. I forget. I had met Steph Vernick from Armchair Productions in Sydney. Well, he is Armchair Productions. And he's originally from London, and of Polish descent, Polish parents. And his father, actually, when he served in the war, he met Wojtek. And he had all these stories about the bear in the trenches, drinking beer, bringing the shells to the soldiers. All that stuff he had kind of witnessed first or second hand because he was around. So this is way before he ended up in the zoo. The bear ended up in the zoo, right? So he's telling me this story, and like, this sounds very familiar. Hold on a second. And I was like, wow. And Steph has this wonderful. His father is not with us anymore, but he has a wonderful tradition that he comes with his Ella, with his mother, to Annecy every year. You might have seen her around because all the parties we've been together.
What's his name? What's his name?
Stefan
Yes, of course.
Vernick.
His mother's a legend. Everybody knows.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Ella, yeah, she's amazing. So, and she was around, and obviously she was kind of now the keeper of all these stories, right?
Oh.
So, and I think we were at the traditional Saturday picnic
Friday
that's
picnic
organized.
was the dream, what the Blue Zoo DreamWorks animation magazine? What was?
No. This is the unofficial Screw Corporation's picnic that happens on Saturday.
There are so many picnic. Okay, sorry.
And it's been around for a long time. Anyway, so we're there, and I managed to bring them together, and they sat down, and Ella started telling all these stories. And I don't know how much this is when he was still kind of working, developing the film, so it was at a good stage where maybe he could take some of those stories and implement them in the film. So I don't know how much he did or not, but it felt really, really nice to be able to like, hey, here's a source. Here's a wonderful source you can use for the film.
Well, I'm going to see
So
you in
when
a couple of weeks at the Move Summit, so I'll ask him for you.
yeah. So when little kind of synergies, I guess, in lack of a better word, like this happen, they're like wonderful. That's the magic of these events and these get-togethers and people hanging out and just chatting and
Yeah,
sharing in this passion together.
absolutely.
Um,
So I don't know if you just heard me,
so,
Alex. I have a feeling you can't hear me either. I'm going to see Ian in a couple of weeks in Edinburgh at the Move Summit, so I will ask him how it.
yes, thank you. Yeah, if you ask him if he took some inspiration from Ella's stories, yeah, that
So
would be good.
take Alex out for dinner soon. That's a wonderful
Yeah,
connection. What an incredible story. Yeah,
yeah.
think about
Um,
that.
yeah, since we're on the subject of approaching people and talking to people, so I'm doing a few. I've done some recently, and I'll be doing a few more classes with students from back home from Moldova. And I have other friends that do this, and they keep kind of telling me the same thing. Animator I work with also teaches there, and there's this kind of desperation, I suppose, among these students. There's not too many of them to begin with. I mean, you can imagine how many animation students there are in Moldova, but a few dozen, let's say. Um, and there's a sense of desperation that if you're year three, let's say, or two or something, and you've already kind of invested a little bit of time into this, and now it seems like the whole industry is falling apart, and what is AI gonna do, and so on and so forth, and they're very kind of paranoid and scared about it. Is there still going to be a profession waiting for them when they're done with their studies and so on? And my friends are like, I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to tell them. So I have my personal answer for that, but I was wondering if these kids would be asking you that, what would you
Yeah.
tell them? What would you advise them?
I always get asked that. The what's the point? I mean, and also
Yeah.
animation schools are expensive traditionally, right? So it's a big investment. Or
Hmm.
if they've gotten scholarships. This is something that I think is sometimes missing from animation schools. I mean, it depends where they are, but they're often the kids come out. The French schools, they're often ready. They're completely ready to work, but they have no clue how things work on the outside in
Yeah.
terms of business. So I've started putting together a
But
syllabus for like graduating students for the last semester about business acumen, the international marketplace, etc. There are lots of different areas they can work in, right? So it's not just working on animation
yeah,
shows, animation features. There's VFX, there's advertising, there's motion graphics. There's so many different. There's
correct.
gaming.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, although all of those industries have been it's tough right now, so there are opportunities, and it's also, I think, there's giving them the tools to so they can go out there and be proactive in the way they look for work or the way they connect, and as they're graduating, maybe going into different types of jobs if they can, and then working on films together, like we were saying, to connect. And I had this conversation the other day actually with two graduating students and this was at Women in Animation, Les Femmes s'animent, the 10th anniversary in Paris. Shout out to Women in Animation. And there were several students there, and we were talking to amongst us, and it took them a long time to talk to us, but we'd already met in the lift. So there's that nervousness about and being, actually moving forward and connecting. And I think it's really important to be able to get over your fears and know that the industry is friendly and people will help you and will want to connect you. And we talked about, studios that inspire them, because you never know, showing your work, carrying on if you can, working on your portfolio, working on animation, pairing up in teams, finding complementary skill sets, putting your work out there, not being precious about it, putting it out there on YouTube and going. There are platforms for, there are film platforms, there are lots of different platforms, to promote your work. And market it yourself. It's a lot of work, but it's finding like a team. I think it's like a support system as well. You're a 3D animator, you might want to work with a director or somebody else who could be, a complementary partner with a
Right. Yeah.
And I'm currently working with Taffy. I don't know if you know Taffy. It's a Toronto animation.
Yes. Yeah.
In April, and there's a mentorship scheme. There's an accelerator, and I'm working with a small studio. The girls graduated. There's two of them. They graduated not so long ago, and they were extremely entrepreneurial and contacted all the people who were their heroes and interviewed them either on Zoom or in person in Toronto, wherever they could. And people were very generous with their time and gave them advice. And they've carried on. They've both got full-time jobs in other arenas and are making films, and like finding partnerships there. You have to be quite entrepreneurial, I think, as well. But I was really fascinated and amazed by what they'd already achieved and the gumption it took, the resolve it took to do that. And you say never meet your heroes, but they really did. And I think there was no regrets, and they're extremely connected, and people are helping them. Growing your network is kind of essential, when you regardless of history, So for your students, I can understand. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? There's always that whenever I do masterclasses or workshops with graduating students or people who are more or less experienced, it's trying to keep that spark alive without totally demoralizing them and depress them. Say, well, there are more jobs out there, and also having a different approach and a fresh approach. And we desperately need new blood in the business, right? There's a real. I mean, everybody's on the lookout for new ideas and new talent and do things your way. Be kooky, be yourself, be a nerd. I mean, like Rita's the very great protagonist of that. And I think she spoke about it the other day. It's so important to keep to be authentic, to be your authentic self and be proud of that. And learn the tools of the trade and do things different. I know there are certain tools that will no longer exist soon, like Animate, but there's so many tools that exist for free online, and there are tutorials all over YouTube. It's time, isn't it? It's being able to invest the time and having the, and if you can't find that kind of resolve that they have, like Corey has or Nick has, then partner. You're much stronger as three or four, as a group.
Totally, yes. I really agree. Like coming together and working together on things.
Yeah.
I think
is that what you told them? Is that what you say? Like along those lines? Along those lines, you would have said, Alex, to those students?
What I would say to the students, you touched on that briefly when you mentioned the spark. I would say try and remember why you wanted to do this in the first place. So what was that? What was that thing? And it's not, I want to be, I don't know, a famous animation director, or I want to be this, or I want to be that. What is that spark? What is the thing that you actually wanted to do?
Yeah.
And then try and really analyze and see if the obstacles that you perceive as obstacles are actually obstacles for preventing you from doing that. Maybe it's just going to be in a different shape or a different form, or not exactly how you perceived it or imagined it.
Right.
But if it still feels like, yeah, I can still do that, whatever it is, telling stories, right? A lot of it really boils down to that. different way, or expressing yourself. You're talking just now, and it reminded me of a Neil Gaiman interview I was listening to a while back, and somebody asked him a very similar question. It's so hard to get a thing published, and there's so much competition out there, and there's so many very talented storytellers and writers. And his answer was like, yeah, there are, but none of them are you.
Exactly. And you
It's
can
none of them are you. None of them are going to have your version of it, right?
Of course, everybody is unique. I think there's that as well. There's the why is so crucial, and not to lose sight of that. And also, if you're creative, has to. There's always that it has to come out. There has to be an outlet. That
You
otherwise,
have to, yeah.
yeah, it's kind of irrepressible, right? I think that's really important. And you're right about the barriers, and are they real? Are they really obstacles? Are there other ways around them? And by partnering, or by finding advice, or asking for someone's advice with more experience, they might not be, that important or that much of an obstacle. And I think it's tough. There's competition, but there's room for everything and everybody, and different ways. And there are shows and projects and things that have come from nowhere, and a great idea and something fabulous can come from anywhere. So
Totally.
I'm rooting for Moldova.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, there's so many. I keep wondering sometimes, because we're talking about grit and resilience and just doing it, and figuring out ways to just do things, just do the things. This is like my motto: just do the things. Whatever the things need doing, go do the things. You'll know what things need doing. So what it takes, and I keep wondering often how many, and it's also a good question to ask yourself as a creator, and for these kids or for anybody, how many wonderful pieces, ideas, concepts, series, shows, movies, books, whatever, we will never know about, that were really, really great and really wonderful, because people were, and rightfully so, but frightened, scared, or they perceived certain obstacles as insurmountable. What's the word?
Insurmountable obstacles.
Insurmountable, yes.
The sky's the limit, isn't there? But and then and how many projects have we seen that will not see the light of day because they couldn't get financed, or because it was the wrong place, at the wrong time, right person, the right, it's such a people kind of business, and you how things connect with investors and broadcasters and platforms, and I've seen 1,000 that never.
And also a thing, to that point, also a thing that maybe people who aren't too experienced in the industry don't understand is that it doesn't really matter how big of a name you are, you still have the same obstacle. I've seen so many famous people, enough to make that conclusion, at all these directors, for example. Let's take that category, at different markets and events, and you realize, and somebody you really respect, and they have a beautiful body of work, and they are in their 60s or 70s, and you would think like, oh my God, wow, isn't that a wonderful place to be? But then you look at their conversations, and you look at what they're kind of working on right now, and you realize, man, they are still hustling for gigs. They're still trying to put things together, trying to get the financing to come through, trying to get all the partners to come on board, trying to get all the pieces of the puzzle. It's still how it works. It doesn't matter if you're starting out, or there's no magic wand. There's no.
Maybe it's even more complicated for them because of those. Because if they haven't gotten embraced the change in the tech and everything, and gotten on the train,
right,
and they feel a bit like old school, or you're not pivoting towards that. I know some incredible filmmakers who are on a panel in LA on the AI panel, who are self-taught, and who looked at all the YouTube tutorials they could, and helped themselves, and have like really really gathered momentum doing that and just gone ahead and doing it and invested the time in it. And I think this is a terrible thing to say for those who are super experienced, like very experienced writers and a lot of executives who are actually out of work right now. But for example, for your students, and if they're working on a student film or if they're working on a short or any other kind of film, to ask for their advice. If they do have heroes or they see people who are actually out of work, they might be able to afford the time to. I mean, everybody needs to eat, right? But it's to have that kind of, as someone as a consultant on your film gives it additional credentials, saying I had so-and-so working or this writer on, or as a just to support us and guide us. That can make a big difference, when you're talking to an investor or even a sales agent, if you're looking at a short film or a feature. I think that could be a massive change. It's not doing any favors to a super experienced, writer or director who's got incredible credentials, but it might be really helpful for the less experienced. So I'm not going to be very popular for saying that, but if I was a student, I would go for it. If you've got some people you admire, then why the hell not? And also LinkedIn has become very democratic as well. I find it's easy to reach out to people. It's easy to find connections through connections. People are saying, can you connect me to so-and-so? Or I'm happy to do that. I mean, if I believe in a project, absolutely. I wouldn't want to waste anybody's time.
Right.
But it's, reaching out, connecting with people directly, through Instagram. I find a lot of talent through Instagram, LinkedIn. It's very, very useful. So I go ahead and do it. Why the hell not if you can? I definitely recommend that. But have you got plans for students or graduating students within this space? Is there something specific that you're thinking of providing for them in terms of
it's very similar in terms of what you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation. Like you have like a little, what was the word used? Not blueprint of the industry. That's the I think that's
that blueprint's is burnt.
I think, yeah. But it's like a little guide or guidelines in terms of how things work in the world and in the industry in general, because it's just something nobody teaches them. Right, so you have people who teach them the animation, they teach them the things, and teach them this and this and that, and great, and they still have maybe this romantic idea of, oh, I'm gonna come up with the next Mickey Mouse, and then Disney's gonna make me a
or my
billionaire,
short
right?
going to win an Oscar. Yeah, I mean that's completely. Yes, I think we spoke about this. I think and it was like what I was saying there. That they need and I was saying I was preparing a syllabus for like graduating students for their last semester or like as they go out into the world to give them tools to prepare them to arm themselves with to help to guide. I mean if you want me to come in and have a chat with students, I'd be happy to do that and talk about it.
I already took a note of it. I took a note of it. This idea came to me as soon as you mentioned that you do this. So we will have a conversation about this at a later date, I assure you.
Oh, absolutely. So how do you see the future? Is that your $50 million question? How do you see the future of animation?
I think okay. I'll answer it with an anecdote. So about 10 years ago, I get this idea for a feature film. And my idea is there's this guy and he lives. There's a guy, and he lives in the future, right? And it's a future where there's tech that you can create any sort of movie or film that you want. So he's a struggling writer director. He's trying to make a name for himself. Waiting tables in the meantime, well, that kind of situation. But the tech is like the way I was imagining it back then. Like imagine like a Minority Report type of thing. If you remember Minority Report, the Tom Cruise movie. So that was my idea.
Are you the main protagonist in this?
Not really, no. Just a person, just a guy. So, but I was imagine this tech. Wouldn't it be cool that you have some sort of device like in Minority Report, and you can go, okay, so I'm thinking a young couple in their mid-20s walking on a beach, golden hour, blah, 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 and then you just pull it. There you go. There's your shot, right? And then you go, okay, next shot needs to be, I don't know, medium over the shoulder on the guy, and he says this, boom, pull in the shot, it's done, right? And the kind of gist of the concept was that there is no limitation for him to create a story or to create a movie. So this is in a future where he doesn't need to go buy film and shoot on film and develop, and it's easy, it's there. But he's struggling because he has nothing to say. He is struggling because he doesn't know what story he wants to tell. And that's why it's not coming together, not because there's an issue with budgets or the studios don't want to buy his script or make his movie. He doesn't need that anymore. He lives in a future where that's redundant. He can just make it, right? But he's still struggling because he doesn't know what story he wants to tell. He doesn't know what the story is. And now we're slow, like 10 years, maybe 12, I forget when I first came up with that, but later we are moving into this future where you have this opportunity to put together whatever you want. And the differentiating factor here is going to be, do you have something to say? So how you make things, it'll change. And I don't think AI is going to kill traditional animation by any means. Television didn't kill theater, movies didn't kill radio.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. We're going to be fine.
Wonderful tool.
But it's just going to be way more diverse, different things. It's just getting a bit bigger. Fine. But at the end of the day, whether you're, like Paul working or like I did in the past, working 4 years on a very bespoke, handmade boutique production, or you're using modern tools and you're optimizing and doing things a bit quicker and in a different way, at the end of the day, is the story any good? Do you have a story to tell? Do you have something to say? And if that element is there, then everything else, I think, falls into place and becomes not irrelevant, but not as important. I think if the story is good, if the storytelling is there, then it's going to be all right.
I don't think storytelling's at risk by any shape or form. There will always be storytelling. I have absolute faith in that. Always creativity, storytelling, something to say. It's human nature, don't you think?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
in
Yes.
terms of the tech, I mean, you can do both. I mean, if you have time, it's just a question of time, isn't it? Be able to work on beautiful, crafted stop motion, and then looking at tech and exploring and working with different tools and experimenting. And there's a lot of information online. It's bewildering, which is why I put together takeaways to like get the info from the experts who've done all of that pre-experimentation, all of these studios who've put into these and given me this information. It's absolute gold, because it's already been those tools. I mean, of course, it's now completely out of date because it's evolving.
It moves so quickly. Yes,
but does it?
Yeah,
There's ways, there's methods, and I think it's everything. It's all of the above. It's just what you've got time to explore and be curious about. I'm not for 1 second worried about storytelling. So you shouldn't be either, really. I think that's what guides us and drives us, and thank goodness, right?
Yeah, of course. I think as long as the story is good, it doesn't matter the medium, it doesn't matter.
It's more than the storytelling, right? Your compelling characters, the relatability, and all of that. But it's
but like that's what I mean. Storytelling, everything. It's the characters. It's the everything. So thank you so very much. Every conversation I have, I always ended with the same question. And the
Yikes.
question is, if you had to, but it's fine. You already answered it. I'm just letting you know that you did. So
What?
the question is, if you had to pin a note on the door to the tuna room, or in other words, as a metaphor for people coming into the industry, what would it be? But we already talked about that, and
Oh, I've
usually
got.
when people answer this, I use that as the title of the episode. And the answer, or the part of the answer, from what you said that I wrote down, and I think is going to be a wonderful title for the episode, is "Be kooky, be yourself, be weird."
No, I was going to say everybody's welcome. Everybody, everybody's welcome.
Yeah, but it's saying everybody's welcome, but it's
We just have,
just
yes, I
using
said,
different words.
oh yeah, authenticity is essential. You know, it's hard to do that when you're at markets and be your authentic self, because there's a performative nature to
Yeah,
it, isn't there? You know,
of course.
you're on stage, you're on show, and that's why I love like talking to people in the pub, or waiting when you're queuing for coffee, or
Yeah, when the guard is down a little bit and people are more
exactly, and
relaxed,
then
and
people are
yes,
much more themselves, and then you hear the real
yeah,
story. Whereas, I mean, being on stage, or or when you like in a networking environment, and it's overwhelming for those people who are introverted, or
of
they
course.
don't have that, or they've got shyness. I
Yeah,
mean, I've clicked into work persona for many years. It's we're all shy. Some of us just hide it better than others, and
yeah,
it's work. But I think there's that feeling of the being yourself, and then knowing that you're welcome, I think is really
yeah.
kind of important. So they go hand in hand. That's two post-its on the door. Is that a post-it or a note,
Okay.
or a whole giant 3 sides of A4 that you want me to put on the door?
Like how much space I
How
have.
big is the door?
How big is the door? Is it a door or a gate, really?
Yes, a giant portal into another universe, which of course it
Yeah,
is, right? But no, I'd really there's so many things, but it's really open arms group. And not there are there are other like live events that have the same kind of. I was thinking of Festivus and Rob Doherty. I'm sure you know Rob,
yep,
and what he's
yep,
created in
yep.
terms of those events, those networking events at the
Hmm.
different markets, and it's growing outside now because they've been in
Yes.
for a few years. MIP London, MIP Junior, there was one. It's going to be one in Scotland. And I think they've been all over different festivals, and they were very much before for the artists, but now we see execs. It's more of a mix. There's more of an exchange in terms of who goes, and then the jobs that are posted. And people looking for jobs. That's
Yeah.
kind of useful. You're super complimentary, I think. What you've created is
Oh,
super complimentary, because that's kind of the live events, the official job
hmm.
postings. There's there's
Yeah.
there's a really great network. There's something fabulous, and it's very democratic. It's not like an organized drinks party. It's a pub where every man
Yes.
for
Yeah.
himself.
I've been to a few. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think those initiatives are fabulous, because they eliminate all of those barriers to entry, and you can mingle with anybody. You never know who's going to be
Yeah.
there, right? So I think but
Yeah.
for you to have
True.
something that's always on online, and for people to hang out and to have those live hangouts is, well, you'll see as it grows, right? I think it's and you can count on everyone you've spoken to spread the word. I know, right?
Yes. I hope.
Of course, of course. I mean, it's an incredible cause, and it's a very worthy cause. And also, it can only be a virtuous circle as it grows, don't you think? As it grows, and more content gets posted, and people find talent, and you speak to more people, and it can only,
Yes.
grow.
Yeah. 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 For sure. I think the bigger it grows, the more beneficial it gradually and automatically becomes for everybody involved.
Yes, and even people experience, and I don't know everybody. I'm going to listen to everybody that you've done these sessions with, so I
Oh,
can
thank
I
you.
can be inspired by them. Of course, it's kind of, I think it's
Yeah, you
essential
should.
for
It's
me
great.
to
Yes, absolutely. And
and listen to their pearls.
listen, thank you so very much for your time. and for the conversation. I normally try and keep these around an hour.
Yeah. Woo!
But
We're
it's
waiting.
no, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it at all. I was having a lot of fun talking to you. So thank you
You
again
too.
for
Thank
doing
you.
this, and good luck this year. You have a lot of pots. You have a lot of pots going on at the same time. So good luck keeping track of everything, and
You
I wish you a
too.
lot of success in each of those endeavors. And I will definitely be coming back for some advice on a couple of them,
Oh,
of
but
those
sure.
topics.
Of
So
course, that's what we're here for, right? And Paul, I hope it was interesting whilst you were working.
It really was. Thank you so much. This is eye-opening
and I
to
can
see other people's perspectives.
I would assume Paul is saying yes.
You say no, it was awful. It was probably one of the worst sessions I've ever sat through in my life.
That's what I'm reading on his lips. I'm never coming back. This was such a disappointing conversation.
Especially because we tend to work.
Thank you, Paul, for showing up.
And it's good to hear other people's perspectives. It's very important.
Okay, cool. I hope it was interesting. Best of luck with your shot. I'm looking forward to seeing it, or bits of it, when you can.
I guess I'll.
You can share a couple of shots that you're not too.
I can share a few shots,
scared to put out there in the community. I mean, the community is private for a reason, so we can share work in progress stuff. It's not public.
Love to see what you're working on. Right?
Awesome.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Speak soon, and a wonderful weekend. Yeah.
You too. I hope your son gets better, Alex.
Thank you.
And you don't catch it.
Yes, and I say okay.
Okay. Best of luck.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Ciao.